So welcome brothers to another battlecast, and this time I'm playing Norsca and we're going to face up against the Dark Elves. And as I mentioned many times, the Dark Elves are the best race in the complete game by far. They have just positive matchups, no negative matchup whatsoever, even against Norsca. But also Norsca is a quite good faction in a mid-range area, a tier 2 faction I would say. And with a good build and a good tactic you can compete really well against the Dark Elves. So let's take a closer look on my army composition over here, and you can already see I brought a lot of Marauder Berserkers, and these guys have a quite low amount of AP damage with just 13, but therefore we have a huge weapon strength with 57, nearly 60. I mean, give me a complete break, this is incredible over here. And a melee attack of 48, and this means these guys cause a lot of trouble in the enemy infantry ranks and have a huge damage output. And even against heavily armored elite other infantry units, these guys have a quite good damage output, even if their own AP damage is quite low, as I said, because of their huge weapon strength and melee attack overall. So they're performing also against heavily armored infantry units or targets quite good. And we don't have to forget they have in addition a bonus versus infantry of 5. The price is 750 credits, so they are so cost efficient, and in most cases I prefer to bring much more of these guys than, for example, Marauder champions with great weapons. And yeah, we don't have to, the Marauder Berserkers are one of the best damage dealer units in the complete game. This is really a fact, and I really love these guys. Then I brought Marauders with great weapons to have at least some quite good amount of AP damage. Low tier infantry unit, of course, they are not able to kill a group of Warhammer executioners, but still to have a group units in the front line that can cause a good amount of AP damage is always quite good. Then I have a Skinwolf Verrigan over here, especially very good against large targets, a very dangerous foe against other lords, heroes, monsters and all that stuff. A Shaman Sorcerer with the Law of Death, and I brought Spirit Leech and Fate of Buna. I know this is not very popular, but against Blackguard of Nagorod, or the Sword, not the Sword's Masters, but the Hargonef Executioners, it is quite good to have a Fate of Buna at least in this matchup, because it is very difficult for my infantry to get through there. Then I brought Marauder Hunters with Javelins, and these guys are anti-large. The only disadvantage over here is that they have a very small missile range, so they have to be really close to the target that they would like to throw their spears, but then the damage output is really good against large targets. I brought 2 groups of these guys. Then I brought a group of Marauder champions, at least one, with great weapons to compete against the heavy stuff, the Hargonef Executioners or the Blackguard of Nagorod. Then I brought Frog over here. Frog is in my opinion the most competitive pick on the roster, as a lord, and also Wolveric on foot is a quite good pick. But I think Frog is good against large targets, and also in enemy infantry ranks the amount of splash damage is gigantic. I really love Frog, and I think this is the most competitive pick on the roster. Then I brought a War Mammoth, and I cannot recommend to bring a War Mammoth in this matchup, because a War Mammoth is a huge target for the Dark Shards, for the Blackguard of Nagorod. This is everything's dangerous for the War Mammoth. But even though I thought, okay, let's give it a try, let's see what the War Mammoth can do against performing superior against the Bleak Sword, Sisters of Slaughter and all that stuff. So I thought, okay, let's bring up War Mammoth, but in most cases it's quite dangerous. But I think handgunners are much more dangerous, and also cannons. So against the Dark Elves, maybe in some cases you can bring. But as I said, against Dark Shards, it is of course very dangerous to bring a War Mammoth. And of course Blackguard of Nagorod, this is the most important thing over here. Then let's come to my opponent. He brought Dark Riders with Repeater Crossbow, 2 groups. And in his main army core we have 3 groups of Dark Shards, as I said, quite difficult, quite dangerous for my War Mammoth, but also of course for other units, these guys causing AP missile damage. Then we have Bleak Swords over here, my Marauders with great weapons, but also my Marauder Berserkers should perform quite well against these guys. But I think also for the Dark Elves to bring Bleak Swords to the battlefield against Norsca is okay. The most Norscan infantry is not so elite, so to increase your amount of units on the battlefield for that purpose, Bleak Swords are, in my opinion, quite good. I like the build of my opponent in this case over here. We have then in the last line Hagen of Executioners, 2 groups, and 1 group of Blackguard of Nagaroth. And as I said, the Hagen of Executioners are really the most problem over here in the Blackguard of Nagaroth for my infantry units. It's very difficult to kill these very elite infantry units over here. And last but not least, we have Malekith on a Black Dragon, also in my opinion a quite good pick in this matchup. So I really like the build of my opponent over here. So let's start over here with the charge in. Let's do some cinematics. And of course I directly gave my Warhammer the attack command to attack these Bleak Swords over here. You can see now the Dark Shards retreat, doing some damage to my Marauders with great weapons because they are not shielded. And now we have the charge in of the War Mammoth, and this is so beautiful, this charge of this Mammoths. Very, very, very cool over here. Now we have a epic fight going down, epic charge in over here, all that stuff, the great weapons against the Bleak Swords, the Hagen of Executioners joining. Give me a break, beautiful. The Marauder Berserkers should have really a good time against the Bleak Swords, as I said. And I was really able to flank my opponent over here on the left and on the right flank. You can see this with a group of Marauder Berserkers and another group of Marauder Berserkers and a group of Marauders with great weapons. Because you can see he retreated with his Dark Shards, and this is of course a quite dangerous situation for me. The Dark Shards causing a huge amount of damage if they constantly shoot on the front line. So I had to force them away over here. So I decided not to bring Warhounds or stuff like that to the battlefield, Norscan Warhounds, cause against Shades and stuff like that you are really screwed. Against Dark Shards, Warhounds are good, but now I have of course a quite difficult situation because the Dark Shards are faster as it seems, so this is of course not really good, but at least I was able to force them away. So my Javelins, I decided, okay, my Javelins have to constantly throw now the spears on Malekith, because I saw my opponent did not move Malekith. Now he started to move because he took some damage from the Javelins. You can see they have to be really, really close to the target over here, to Malekith. The frontline fight overall runs quite well, but I have really problems, of course, with the Hagen of Executioners. With the Blackguard of Nagaroth, sorry. The Marauder Berserkers will damage these guys, but not so much. They perform much better against the Hagen of Executioners, but the Blackguard of Nagaroth has such a huge melee defense and is so steady, so the Marauder Berserkers have really a hard time over here. Of course, even against the Hagen of Executioners they are not going to win, but against the Hagen of Executioners they do much more damage over here. So this Blackguard of Nagaroth is a huge problem over here. So my War Mammoth really pay off over here. You can see all these in this case my own units fly away, but against Hagen of Executioners the War Mammoth is really, really good. They are not anti-large, they are not able to hold the line against the War Mammoth over here. And now we have a Dragon Breath going down here from Malekith, and it hit my units quite well. So we have now my group of Marauders are shaken, our other group is quite heavily damaged, and my Marauder Berserkers are on rampage, so they are out of control. Meanwhile, the Repeater crossbows constantly shoot on my front line. You can see I started to chase them away with my Skin of Eric, and you can see how fast he is. So he's quite able to, over the time, to get these guys over here. Of course, this is not really cost efficient. He's much more expensive than did these guys. But even though I have to stop the fire on my front line over here. So Malekith landed directly in this blob of units, and this is of course not really good, because I have a war mammoth, and even against large targets mammoths have a huge damage output. And in addition we have frog over here. A giant going down over here on my Marauder Berserkers, and these Hagenef Executioners are still online, still fighting very well. Of course they are also still quite heavily damaged and now shaking, because I have two groups of Marauder Berserkers attacking these guys. Meanwhile, Malakith shattered, he took too much damage, and that's it for the match. Overall, as I said, I like the build of my opponent. I think the only mistake he made is that I always use Malakith on the Black Dragon as a harass unit in the beginning, constantly doing chill wins and stuff like that on the front line, Dragon Breaths and stuff, and I think he was too passive over here, and this was a little problem over here, that he starts in the end of the fight to attack my units. This is, of course, but overall I really liked his build. I would probably bring more Black God of Nagorod, because as I said, Hagenef Executioners are strong, but in this matchup, Black God of Nagorod are much more steady, even against Marauder Berserkers, Warhammer's large entities. I would have brought more Black God of Nagorod in this match. 3 groups of Dark Shards are also, in my opinion, too much. I would cut more, and I'm not a fan of kite units also here, so I would cut these. But this is everyone has their own type of gameplay, so in this case I'm not sure. But overall I like the build of my opponent. You can see the damage output here. Marauder Berserk is incredible, 85 kills, 136 kills, 105 kills for a War Mammoth. But as I said, I can't recommend to bring a War Mammoth to the battlefield against the Dark Elves, because they can kill him quite easy. But besides from that, also Marauders with great weapons performance is really good. But thanks to Matthew 1988, and see you next time. And thank you for that match. I hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, thank you for tuning in. And see you on my next Battlecast. Have a nice evening. Peace out.